Hello. Thanks for having me. Jonathan, I think you're wrong. I think about dying just like everyone else. You'd be surprised how often I pull that book off the shelf. Jonathan, I think you're scared. No way of knowing today who might be pulling your hair or rain down kisses on your pretty little eyes. Jonathan, you want your name, you want your beer can, any more than you're my friend. And all this worry does not carry itself. Jonathan, you look so tired after we wake up. You can explain everything, but wouldn't you like to lay down now? Cool. I fell in love for the first time again. I kept a secret and called it my friend, touching your arm at the towpath's end, sinking my teeth in your stem. Will you stitch up my good times, cerulean thread? Paint me a likeness in firehouse red. Pour out your oils at the foot of my bed. Trace down the wires in my head. Dreamed a good dream where I drank from your jug, arching your back on a cowhide rug. Jar full of displaced lightning bugs lit up the cross beams above. I picked up your guitar and put on your wings, plugged in your plexi and tuned up your strings, kissed off my nightmares and childish things, drew wide my mouth sing. Now here's my summertime boy on the street by the beach. I know sooner or later he'll slip out to sea, but oh my God, how he rolls down the window to wave hi to me. Thanks, audience. All right. It's a nice day out. I think I'm gonna go for a walk after this. Will you go for a walk? Down Delaware River, I went with her. We pulled over by the silvery blue. Little red Chevy, arms all heavy. We went swimming in our birthday suits. A sleepy mamacita, a salty margarita. We're never gonna make it back to New York now. Torn it out of focus, I don't notice till I was cleaning out the van last night, tucked away sweetly in an old CD between the pages of the liner notes. How could I forget you like I never met you? Mama, I never should've let you go, let you float away, float away, gone to stay and never return. Maybe I'll see her in a grand theater when I'm rolling like a rolling stone, picking out a new tune, looking around the big room in Baton Rouge or San Antone. On a Saturday night underneath the spotlight, we'll communicate a secret song that I could never do right, never knew the good life, always packed up, soon to be gone, and I just float away, float away, gone to stay and never return. All right. Don't need this anymore. Thanks for listening. I'm Jake from Slaughter Beach Dog. We have a new album out. It's called At the Moon Base on Lamo Records. Thank you so much for listening. I'm gonna do a Townes Van Zandt song, and that'll be all. Thanks for having me. Living on the road, my friend, is gonna keep you free and clean. Now you wear your skin like iron, your breath's as hard as kerosene. Weren't your mama's only boy, but her favorite one it seems. She began to cry when you said goodbye. Sank into your dreams. Pancho was a bandit boy. Horse was fast as polished steel. Wore his gun outside his pants for all the honest world to feel. Pancho met his match, you know, in the deserts down in Mexico. Nobody heard his dying words. That's the way it goes. All the federales say could have had him any day. Only let him hang around out of kindness, I suppose. Lefty can't sing the blues all night like he used to. Dust that Pancho bit down south ended up in Lefty's mouth. The day they laid poor Pancho low, Lefty split for Ohio, where he got the bread to go. No one really knows. All the federales say could have had him any day. Only let him slip away out of kindness, I suppose. Poets tell how Pancho fell. Lefty is living in a cheap motel. The desert's quiet, Cleveland's cold, so the story ends, we're told. Pancho needs your prayers, it's true. Save a few for Lefty too. Only did what he had to do. Now he's growing old. Few great federales say could have had him any day. Only let him go so wrong out of kindness, I suppose. Few great federales say could have had him any day. Only let him go so wrong out of kindness, I suppose. Thanks.
So my first question is, what exactly inspired you to start Slaughter Beach Dog?
I think I feel like it's been a long time, and I kind of forget why. I think it was because when modern baseball started, it was a pretty solitary operation between me and Bren, and we lost that kind of a little bit over the years for good reason, and I just wanted another outlet, another creative outlet where I could kind of be, the beginning and the end of every decision. So yeah, it was just kind of a low stakes opportunity to do that again.
Awesome. Is there any specific meaning behind like the term Slaughter Beach or?
My parents used to live in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and when I would drive home to see them from Philly, there was a town on the way there called Slaughter Beach, and and I think there was another town called what was the other one called? It was another town with a funny name. And when I decided that I wanted to do another band, I thought I should call it this funny name town or the other funny name town, and I went with Slaughter Beach.
Awesome. So like the premise of the whole thing, it seems like from what I've read, is that you kind of like create these characters who are down on their luck and like give them stories. How do you like decide like what those stories are?
Usually there's not very much deciding at the beginning. I'll kind of just have a sentence or even a few words that describe a certain person or a certain action or a mistake or something. And I kind of just let the song go where it wants to go. And the only real, I guess, is this exciting? So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Is there anything that you like consistently draw from as like inspiration, or is it just like everyday life, or like where does that come from?
I was talking to my friend about this a couple weeks ago, but one thing that has become challenging in some ways now is that I used to find inspiration almost exclusively in walking out of my house, getting on the subway, going to Center City in Philly, and just watching people on the subway. I would sit in a coffee shop for like 3 hours and just read and watch people, or go in the park and watch people, and go to the bar and listen to people talk. And I haven't been able to do any of that stuff in over a year. Obviously, none of us have. So it's been interesting to not do that. Something that I find myself doing now is, or I think a helpful realization that I had mid quarantine was that I'm 28. I'm 28 years old, and I've been, I retain memories from like at least 23 of those years. So realistically, even though I can't get on the train and go hang out in a bar for 3 hours, I've lived 23 years worth of material. And the reality is that a lot of my songs are not so much rooted in like insane, exciting circumstances. I really like to write about the kind of nuances of daily life, and things that everyone can find meaning in. So yeah, it's sometimes surprising to feel like I haven't done anything in a long time and think, I have nothing to write about, but then maybe remember something that happened to me when I was 8 years old, that was so affecting that I still remember it 20 years later. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you think having to like dive into those past experiences has like affected you as a writer in any way?
Yeah, I think it has made me more, just less attached to my own ideas about songwriting. Um, Kind of in a similar way to when I first started the band, I was really hung up on only writing songs about things that were currently happening to me. Um, like, I would experience something uh, difficult and emotional, and I would immediately sit down and try to write a song about it. And I would only ever write a song after something emotional happened to me. But then when I started the band, I started trying more of these like fictional narratives. Um, and that was a good way to mix things up. Uh, and one thing that's been true for as long as I've been writing songs is that I've always been kind of intimidated by the idea of sitting down and writing a song about something in particular, like having an idea and trying to stick to it like a prompt. Um, and more recently, when I am trying to write from memory, it is a lot more like a prompt because I'll remember a particular experience and then try to do that experience justice. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I had just have more experience now with writing in general, or if it's just not as scary as I thought it was going to be. But it's been nice to try that. I feel like uh, I've been on an interesting journey of every few years. I kind of uh, try to let go of something that I've become attached to with my writing practice, and I always end up surprising myself, and I like it.
Awesome. That's like a really cool way to just mix things up. Is there like, how would you say that Slaughter Beach Dog is different than all of the other projects you've done, or like modern baseball or other bands you've been in?
Um, like creatively or just in general, or
Whether it's just like how you've grown as a musician or like the stylistic differences.
mhm.
I know that you've said in like past interviews that Slaughter Beach Dog is more of like a serious kind of work than maybe like modern baseball was. But just things like that maybe.
Yeah. Um, hmm. I think something that was really unique about modern baseball was that we were so young when we were doing it, and we were pretty full of like joy and also free of most responsibilities. Um, and there was this really uh, incredible way that that energy from our lives translated directly into the music. At least for me, I felt that way, and I think everybody else did too. Um, and in that way, it was kind of effortless. Um, and it's funny. This is this is kind of like taking a slightly depressing turn. But now that I'm a little bit older, I don't have that same, unadulterated joy, and I do have a lot of responsibilities. Um, and I don't know. It's just whenever I write a song or make a record, it's not just completely fueled by like excitement and wonder the way that it used to be. Um, so I think that's probably what I meant whenever I said it felt more serious. Because I remember feeling that way, but I was never really sure why it felt more serious. But yeah, with modern baseball, we just always had this, and also I think it helped that we um, had a really good response to everything that we did. And we had such a wide audience that there was always just like this surge of energy and excitement. Um, and we just kind of like floated forward the whole time. Um, but yeah, it's been interesting now that I'm older and also with this band. just operating on a smaller scale, it's a lot more of a just kind of quieter, more intimate operation where when I make a record, it still starts with just me. And I'm kind of just sitting alone thinking like, what do I actually want to say here? What am I thinking about? So yeah, I think that's the main difference, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. So for your latest album at Moonspace, what were some of the things that like directly impacted like the creation of that?
Um, I'd written most of the songs, I think probably all but one of the songs before quarantine. So it was a quarantine record in recording, but not so much in the actual writing. But as far as inspiration goes, I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess a lot of it was what I was saying about just walking around the city and keeping my ears open. I think when I was writing those songs, I had kind of, for the first time, fully settled into the idea that I am a songwriter and this is the thing that I do. I don't have a job. And I'm going to kind of like invest myself in the elements of that that actually like take up time in my day. So it was the first time that I really started making a point to say like, okay, this week I'm gonna get on the train and just like go and write somewhere, or this week I'm gonna read and not do anything else other than read, and that kind of thing. So I had come out of like a long period with my therapist where I was like she was helping me realize that doing those things would be a good idea, and to just get rid of any like guilt or insecurity I had about fully giving myself to writing songs. And yeah, so it was kind of a product of accepting that and just diving into writing without a lot of hangups. And the songs just kind of came out of that.
Awesome. Were there any particular like rituals or things that you did to get over like writer's block perhaps for this?
One of the nice things about getting to that point that I was talking about was that I didn't really have writer's block, because in the times when I wasn't writing, I realized that there are so many things that I can do on a daily basis that kind of prime me for writing, like mentally and emotionally speaking. Like I could go 2 weeks or 3 weeks without writing anything, but if I do spend those 2 or 3 weeks reading or listening to interviews or walking around and drawing pictures of people, doing anything like that, if I spend that time doing those things, that I know I will come out of it, and 9 times out of 10 I'll have something to write about at the end of it. So yeah, I just kind of I developed this like faith in the universe a little bit, that if I just don't worry about it and let myself be a sponge for a little while, then the songs will come at the end. And knock on wood, but ever since I've had that realization, I haven't really felt writer's block since then necessarily. So yeah.
Awesome. That's a real plus. So is there, so like once you got into the production and like actual recording process, were there any like issues you had because of COVID or like other things that you think like stood out about this album?
Well, the recording process actually began with a pretty big COVID speed bump, which is that me and Zach and Ian, the two other guys who play in the band, we had just finished a tour and we had cleared our schedules and set aside time in the studio to go write together for like a month. And then everything happened and we decided that it was obviously not safe to do that. So a couple weeks went by and it started to seem like this thing was going to drag on for a while. So I called the guys and I said, do you mind if I just record something by myself over the summer, and hopefully, you know, closer to the end of the year, restrictions will be lifted and we can just start working together on another record. And they were like, yeah, that sounds good. So at the beginning of it, definitely, we had every intention of making a record with the three of us, but it ended up being just me. And it was interesting once I settled into that zone, because with doing it by myself and with doing it at a time when the music industry was so turned upside down, there was absolutely no pressure from anyone to finish anything on any sort of deadline. There were no plans to be made. There was no like tour to have the record ready for. So I just got to this point in July where I had been working on the record for about a month, which is kind of the normal amount of time that I would work on a record. And I would listen back to the rough mixes and I started thinking like, this is fine, but I could just keep working on it. And I had never really done that before. I don't like to work things to death. I'm really afraid of it. And I feel like it, I don't know, but I thought, you know, everything's different now. Nothing is as it should be. And this is kind of my only opportunity to try this. So I just kept working on it for like 2 more months, and refining it and changing the parts and trying different things that I wouldn't normally try. And I was really happy with the way it turned out. It really surprised me. And I don't think I would have tried that if, you know, if my job of being on tour hadn't been completely, you know, shut down, made illegal.
Yeah. Is there anything that you think like maybe changed in, how do I put this? But is there anything that like you think really, really changed about the way that you like made the music over like the last year, or like between doing it alone versus with other people?
I think the biggest change was that, well, I'll start by saying that I am historically terrible with handling confrontation, even down to like stuff that you would really not consider confrontation, but really just like, you know, anytime, just like asking questions or like people making decisions in a room, it just makes my skin crawl. And obviously making a record with 2 or 3 or 4 other people is just like a dead straight month of making decisions with other people in a room for, and they're creative decisions. So they're things that everyone is personally attached to. And I had developed this system of kind of just going with the flow and moving quickly from one thing to the next, so that there was never any opportunity to dwell on any sort of conflict or like elongated discussion. And I had done that to like be able to survive in a democratic band environment, but it also carried over to when I would work on music by myself. Like in years past, even when I work on music by myself, I just try to go, keep the ideas going, and don't, and not sit on anything for too long. But yeah, so this time around, having been given so much space to work, this was the first time that I really took a step back and said, oh, I think the whole reason that I do this is because I'm not good with confrontation. But how would this go if I tried to be really critical, but I only had to be critical of myself? And I'm very good at being critical of myself. So yeah, I really, I just kept challenging myself in a lot of ways that I haven't before. And it was really exciting, just like digging into all these corners that I've never gotten to and trying out different arrangements and recording and reworking and replacing parts with other parts. Yeah, it kind of just cracked me open a little bit, and it honestly made me really excited to go back into a full band recording environment and try to be a little more brave and implement a lot of the things that I did during this record that I was really happy with.
Awesome. Were there any particular production choices that you think like stand out in this album to you, like from the creative perspective?
This is more of a general thing, but I think I was pretty ruthless with layering, which is normally something that I would really make an effort not to get hung up on. But kind of just like building soundscapes and different layers of synthesizers and textures to create a really vivid setting for each song that kind of completely enveloped you as you're listening to it. And a lot of times it wasn't so much in service of like particular parts that would stick out, but more so like if I add these 4 different things and they're all quiet in the background working together, how does that feel? Which is normally, and that like, for me, at least by myself, that took a while. So that was really one of those things that if I was in a room with 3 other people and we were trying to come up with like 4 or 5 different things to be played quietly in the background, that's just something that I would like never touch before. But yeah, a lot of kind of more subtle layering stuff. And not even just the layers, but like for songs that have less elements, just trying to find the exact right texture for each element.
Awesome. Is there any particular track that you would like maybe describe as your favorite?
I think it would be probably A Modern Lay. I think A Modern Lay is my favorite.
I really, really like that song. I like the whole album, but
Thanks.
I really like that song too.
Thank you.
So my final question for you is there, like, you talked a little bit about doing like a full band album. Is that the next thing that you have coming for Slaughter Beach Dog, or is there other things we should look out for? Or
yeah, I think I have no idea when the next album would actually come out. But we did just we just had band practice last week, and we worked on a new song, which felt really good to do that for first time in a long time. And yeah, I think we're talking about doing more of that in April. And I was pretty busy in January and February with just record release type things, but for most of this month I've been writing again. And I would love to record another album with Zach and Ian in the next like 4 or 5 months. I have no idea when it would come out, but yeah, I'm a little bit it was really fun to make the last record and to do the hundreds of layers and come up with all the soundscapes, but in my heart folk music is in my heart, and there's something really disorienting for me to look back at this album and not have a lot of songs that I can sit down with a guitar and just play for someone. So I've been writing a lot of songs recently that are like that are just kind of that stand on their own, like a regular song front to back, with a melody and like normal chord changes. So yeah, I'm really eager to keep writing those kinds of songs and to bang them out with Zach and Ian, and make another record.
Awesome. That's super cool. I can't wait for the next album. I absolutely love this one, I'll be honest.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, those are all the questions that I have for you today, but thank you so much for talking with me. This has been really great.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was good.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, I will let you go, but thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it.